Hello, welcome to the Mind Body Energy Project. Hi, Yolanda.
Hello, Tiffany.
I'm so excited about today's discussion.
Me too.
I say it every time, but I'm always genuinely excited about a conversation.
No, I'm really excited about it too. Is your headset plugged in?
Yeah, can you not hear me?
I can hear you. It just sounds a little bit. That could be me. Heat exhaustion. No. So this week we had the full moon, and then
It's happening right now. Oh,
yeah,
wait.
yes, we're recording
As
on the
we're
night of
recording
the
this.
full moon. Yes.
Yeah.
And then by the time this posts, will be just a day away from the summer solstice, or 2 days away.
Shoot, I forgot that was happening too. I'm
Yes,
unprepared. That means
on
the days are
Friday.
shorter.
Are you doing anything for the solstice?
I forgot that it was happening. I didn't realize Father's Day happened yesterday. I mean, I did, but it was only 2 days before, and I was like, what is it doing so soon?
Yeah.
That came up real quick.
Well, this is the thing that's so interesting to me is like we are literally halfway through this year now.
Yeah, I
Like
know
it's
that
going by
yesterday.
quickly.
Yeah. I'm so scared.
Don't be scared.
Too
Maybe
fast.
put your mic near your mouth. I don't know why I can't hear you that well.
Should I just do away with these?
No.
Maybe interested. Can you hear me better now?
A little bit. Hi, everyone. If you are new to the Mind Body Energy Project, just so you know,
We're basket cases.
We're basket cases.
Is that fair?
That's why we started
the Mind Body
Energy Project. No, we keep it really authentic on this podcast. We don't go back and edit anything. What you see is what you get.
Really real.
Yeah, and I am excited for this reason. Truly, we are almost done with the Suit of Cups. So if you are new or returning, we are doing a tarot journey that will go, I think, until September. But we are currently on the Suit of Cups. And so we decided that we really want to focus on the messaging of these cards so that we can talk about them in ways that they relate to our everyday lives. And then, of course, we'll bring in the meaning of the cards as well. So I have to ask you, first of all, Tiffy, with the first 7 cards, were there any that stood out to you or that you felt really resonated with you in these last couple of weeks?
The 5.
The 5 of Cups?
Yeah. I love it because I feel like a lot of times we have the propensity to focus on the cups that are spilled out, but there's always something behind us, regardless of how bad a situation may appear to us. If we would just shift our perspective, there's always something there.
Yeah. I think out of those cards, the one that stands out for me, at least this week, is the 3 of Cups. Really that energy of like community and celebrating that. I've had a lot of beautiful exchanges just in connection with community, even with like, what I told you, what I did with the person that was in the last class that I was with. And so community has really highlighted for me in this last week. And I'm so thankful that we even get to do this podcast and connect with people in the community that we're building around this.
Yeah.
High five up top.
And I feel that kind of like segues us into the next 3 cards that we're talking about.
Yes. 8, 9, and 10. Almost did
I wanted to make the joke, but I think, did I make that online?
You did. Last week you sure did. Okay, so 8 of Cups, my love. What comes up for you? Does I have to ask you, does it remind you of anything in your life?
My entire life. On repeat.
Let's talk about it.
So this is a card of change, and the 5 cups on the bottom, the 3 cups are on top, and there's a space in between. So it's essentially saying like this person is feeling like there's something missing, or that's kind of a negative connotation of it, but just for the sake of saying it, like there's something missing. So they decide to go on a journey and just trust that they're going to go find this thing that's going to maybe fulfill them or fill a void or whatever it is. Likely that's an inward journey, which we know that's to be true. We always talk about that here, is that you can't fill the voids with external things, because it's an internal thing and it's how we perceive the outside things. But it's also significant with the moon up here too, that like light will be shed on the path which you are seeking and that you go towards. So to trust when you know that there's more, trust to go on that journey and that path to find the fulfillment.
Yeah, I like that. And this card too, for me, it reminds me of like the thing that always comes to mind for me is like knowing when to walk away. You know, and sometimes we get so emotionally tied to things and we don't want to let it go. Or sometimes, you know, it's like it may seem like a stable situation, or we're just comfortable or whatever it may be. And sometimes it's time to move on. And a lot of times it could be that even if something seems familiar or stable, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's supporting our growth. And sometimes we have to just like keep moving forward so we don't become stagnant, you know?
Amen. Yeah.
So before we go on to the other cards, like that in of itself brings up so much for me, but how does this relate to your life?
You want me to get specifics?
Honey.
You want names, dates, and places? Because I will.
You know, I think in a general way, it reminds me of two things that's common for all of us: relationships and career.
Yeah,
those are two things. Honey.
Those are exactly what were on my mind.
We can get real comfortable.
I've done it with career, two big times with career.
Yeah.
In my life. Big times. Yeah.
I did it with career kind of, well, no, I guess that's not a good example. I didn't do this. I didn't do this. And it was one of those things where I stayed because it was stable, and I stayed because, you know, it was comfortable, good money, all of these things, but my heart was no longer in it. And I didn't walk away when I really, like, I should have, you know, like I should have for my own personal growth, but I held myself back. So back then, had I known about the tarot, I probably would have, you know, taken this message of like, girl, move on. It is okay. Stretch, grow.
Yeah. Because you know what happens when we move on and stretch and grow? The 9.
Wait. Before
I know. I couldn't help it though. Wait, I know we're not done with this. Let's stay on the 8. We'll come back to the 9.
Well, there's two things with this.
7 won't be there because he's afraid of 9.
I cannot believe you.
I'm sorry. I couldn't stop myself. It just wanted to come out.
It's why we love you. It's why we love you.
I was just telling my other friend that too. I was like, you just have to change your perspective of, you know, that you have friends that love you for your idiosyncrasies.
Well, yes, it is true. Yeah. Well, one of the things with this that stands out to me is like he's walking on the edge of land and the water that's below. So this reminds me of too that whatever we're walking away from, it may be something that we were emotionally tied to, but we still sometimes need to move on for our betterment. And the mountains in the back remind me of like climbing to new heights, or like giving ourselves new challenge, new adventure, something again to help us grow.
Or seeing from a higher perspective.
Yes. You know, you got to get on with it.
Yeah, you got to get a good view of the layout of the land that you're about to get. But
it helps us grow, and that's the thing. It also reminds me of sometimes, like, because the Suit of Cups, you know, it's all about like our emotion and sometimes being reflective, but there also comes a time where we need to take action, you know, like sometimes we do get stuck in the feeling of something or that emotional attachment to something. And sometimes you just gotta go ahead, take that forward movement, do something.
Rip the Band-Aid off. I had to counsel myself that way last night. I was driving. I'm like, just rip the Band-Aid off. Tiffany, you've done it before. Rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
It's like cannonball into the swimming pool.
Oh, no. We take our time getting into the swimming pool.
Oh, no, you just got a cannonball in, honey.
I know. I'm working on it. Let me start with Band-Aids, shall we?
Okay. Band-Aids it is. Band-aids it is. But I do love what you saw in this. And that's one of the things too I love about the cards, like what we see visually, how you saw the 5 at the bottom, and 5 is symbolic of change. But then even the 3 at the top with the 1, the gap, and you saying maybe something was missing. That's a really cool way of interpreting that image. I like it, babe. High five up top. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead with your little.
Okay, the 9. So we go off on this journey to trust, and it could be challenging because we don't know what's ahead or what it is we're seeking. But what we do know is that the journey is worth it, because in the 9 of Cups, this guy is sitting here in front of all of his trophies in the background there, which are creating an arch over his head, which almost feels a little bit symbolic of like glory, like almost a half halo. But he's just very, very proud of himself for the work that he's done, because he has reaped the benefits of it. And he's been able to like show essentially his trophies that he's worked so hard, and deservedly so, for.
Now, this one is so interesting to me because he looks so content. I think that's the thing of this card. I'm like he looks like proud. He looks content. He looks satisfied.
Yes, satisfied.
But it's
great word for it.
interesting, the arch that you say, because it looks similar to the following card. But instead of the cups just being, on their own, they're being supported by something, right? This table, or it looks almost like an award table or something.
It does.
With the cups are on. Yeah, so this card to me, and a lot of times it means, or represents for me, like just like the simplicity of pleasure. Like maybe you're satisfied with the work that you've done or what you've accomplished. Or maybe you're feeling good about what it is that you have accomplished or a decision that you've made. 9 for me is always like a number of integrity. That's what it always makes me think of. But yeah, this just reminds me of like simple pleasures, but this card in readings, a lot of times people look at it as like the person is not, like they don't need like the, what do you call, like materialism of the world to be satisfied. Like he's leaving that all behind him, and he's just okay with just being, right? I don't know. I guess so. It is interesting.
It is.
I'm trying to think like if I've had any circumstance like that in my life. Where have you ever just felt like this, the energy of this card?
Yeah. I think anytime I ever get like a really known psychic event, for lack of a better way of putting it, that something came to me and it was a very neutral experience emotionally. It was just something that came through and I was like, oh, and then it reveals itself to be true, like that thought or message or whatever came through in my brain proved itself to be true in my outwardly existence. And I'm always kind of like, yeah, okay. Like I sit back and I'm like, I knew that. And thank you for reassuring me that my intuition was correct. It's not always the happiest of circumstances, of course, but it's kind of always just, it's very satisfying to know that we have the intuition that we do, and it is a real thing. And that if we could just quiet down every once in a while and let these messages come through, that we will show that our connection to what our experience is actually what we're creating to be reflected back to us. And I think it's satisfying to know we're in control of that.
This card too, like hearing you say that, it also, like looking at it, reminds me of like just knowing you can have whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like he just looks so satisfied with everything that's been stacked up behind him. You can have whatever you want. And it reminds me of, I won't go into the detail because it was for our patrons, but the card reading of this week that I posted today is reminding me of this. What I can say about it is the contentment is like, it's an inside job. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times we think like, oh, I'll be happy when I have like the new car. I'll be happy when I have those new shoes or the new purse or whatever it is, the new rooms. I mean, let's be real. What I really like, I'll be happy when I get those stack of books, whatever. Right? But it's like this card to me also reminds us that like our contentment, it is like an inside job, and like the satisfaction of like what is now and what you have now, and that also is what attracts into us or helps us to magnetize the rest of the stuff. It's just like being at peace with what already is.
Yeah. And I like the idea of that, because if you look, like, it's just this one singular guy in this photo, and it lends itself to knowing like he did this, like this is his achievement, his reward, and it is an inside job. Yeah.
And what's interesting too, I don't have the other cards near me, but looking at what he's sitting on, it reminds me of like the devil card is sitting on like a half of a box, a half of a cement square. The high priestesses and the emperor are both sitting on things that look similar to, and even just like they're like sturdy squares that a lot of the different.
Reminds me of this, the Eight of Pentacles, where he's working on the he's working. But
this one is on and wood though.
Is that one not on wood?
Well, this one is on wood. I'm saying different than the major arcana ones, which look more like cement.
Oh,
this one is wood. So it reminds me too of like that mastery of our minds, of like satisfaction, because like with our chase of material things and things out there, we're never satisfied really. Bring it on in. How can you be satisfied with what is?
Great question.
What would that do for your life?
And knowing that you are the one who can create that circumstance of satisfaction.
Yes. And that's it.
That's it. You're the only one.
The only one that can. That's it. Like he's the only one that could have had those cups up there behind him in his satisfaction. That's the only way they could have been, rather than them being something he was chasing after.
Because he's sitting fully in the pride of the work that he did to gain those.
I feel like our rabbit holes are becoming more practical.
Well, that's good. Finally.
We have practical rabbit holes. Wait, can we just time out for a second?
Yeah.
I didn't show the Afro goddess.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty.
Oh, yeah, that's
the Eight
beautiful.
of Cups. Yeah.
That looks like a lovely journey that I want to be on.
Right?
In the desert underneath the full moon. Yeah.
Oh, gorgeous.
And
then
take
here's
me away.
the 9. I
love that. Just all the chalices dancing above her head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like they're there because of like her own mental, what do you call it? Like her mind, her state of mind, right?
Like I like how the yellow light behind her makes it feel that way.
And it's interesting now looking at this, like that yellow light is peering through these blue curtains, and then in the Rider Waite, the cups are sitting upon this blue curtain, right? But anywho,
I'm sure there's something to that.
Yeah, would love to hear.
Color of blue is clarity.
Right. And this is like, it's interesting because these are, it's reminding me of, since you say that, like the blend of like how the mind really affects the emotion and how the emotion can really impact the mind, which we always talk about. Mastery. Just want to say for everyone listening too, like, don't forget, we love to hear from you what these cards bring up for you. Do they remind you of any circumstances in your life or the circumstances of people in your life?
Or how has an individual card maybe affected your life?
Yeah.
Not affected it, but like you saw what your life had been through a card and been like, oh, this was a mirror to me.
Yes. They are really, really cool mirrors. So far we have like knowing when to walk away. We
know when to hold them. Know when to fold them. Know when to walk away. Know when to run.
Hey, we don't have the rights to that song, okay? Whoa, Willie.
You didn't have to tell him who was singing.
And then what about this one? It went out the window, but we said a lot about the Nine of
Might
Cups.
Be a dog.
Being content.
Yes. Satisfaction. I won't sing that one.
Please, no.
Okay.
Okay. You can sing it for me after.
Okay.
So we move on to the 10 of Cups.
10 is the number of completion, right?
I love the 10, not in the words written out, but the number 10, it reminds me of like it reminds me of binary, but it also reminds me of the feminine and the masculine, like in harmony, like balanced.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Also the beginning or an end. It could be alignment and completion, fullness, all of those things. Mm-hmm. But what do you think of when you see the 10 of Cups?
Everything you worked so hard for is deserved, and now it's just like it has lifted us up. It's pure jubilance, I feel, is what this card is.
I feel
everybody's celebrating. Cups are in a goddamn rainbow.
Yeah, they are. And no, how
the kids are playing like twirly twirl over here.
Well, that's the thing. It seems like pure joy. The kids are playing, and then the adults, they're just like in wonderment of this rainbow above their heads. Like it just seems like what do you call it? The pinnacle of the cups, the pinnacle of the suit itself. Like, wow, this is the gift of emotion. This is the gift of our imagination, our intuition. This is the gift of like all of the things that cups represent.
Yeah.
But it now, looking at it after talking about the 9 of Cups, it seems like that inner contentment is all that could really put us into this state. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because you have to have a deep level of appreciation to like go into like this full embodiment of like joy, like for real joy, and not just some like temporary fleeting thing. There has to be this practice of appreciating what is that moves you into that.
Yeah, and as you say that, your earrings kind of reminded me of this. But
Tiffany made these earrings for me, everyone.
They're called As Above, So Below. But that makes me think of this because, as you're saying, like the internal contentment is really going to take us where we want to go. It's almost like so below because the cups are kind of grounded, and then as above, and it's like once you take that. Like, so once you take your humanness into like external things,
I love it.
Internal, it lifts the cups up.
I love that.
So what was below is now above because you've done the integration into the self.
And talks about that mastery again. Like we have to figure out what it is to be embodied and managing our own mind, our own emotion, our own energy. And then we have that like, I think of this too as like really that space where you recognize and appreciate all the gifts of life. And like, because we do oftentimes get caught up in what isn't and what we are striving for, or even going back to 8 of Cups, sometimes things like, it might be stable, but it's not really like, ooh, who cares? It's not that exciting. And when we finally have that ability to, this one now too, because of the other two, it's making me think of those times where we have to like, what do you call it? Like have faith, but take a risk and really trust our heart. You know what I mean? Even though the world, our life, everything is like, oh, everything is sitting pretty for you. Why would you dare to go in another direction? But when you do, and you start to like work through those layers of emotion and you really start to manage and get to that space of appreciation and contentment, it's like, pow. Magic. It's like the coup de grace.
It is. Yeah, I feel like these 3 cards really are the magic of the cups.
They really are.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a nice little lesson there.
Sure is.
The Afro goddess, honey, he is kissing that face. Woo! Look at her holding his arms. The kids are in the back and the cups are still on the rainbow.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, I like these 3. I like the message of these 3.
I like the 3 of them together specifically.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. We have to tell you, like when we decided how many cards we were going to do each time, we didn't go into depth of like, how do these three speak to each other? How do these four? Like, no,
it
it's
was based
random.
on fully logistics.
Right. But it really worked out.
It sure did.
Yeah.
As
amazing.
does the journey, right? We just journeyed through ACE through 10.
Right.
The journey always just works out. It has to.
Yeah, but that's the thing too. I love because these cards give us, like we've talked about already, but they help us to see from another lens and help to give us like another perspective to consider. But it's funny just looking at these three cards and the conversation we've had. I'm like, yeah, these are some pretty good life lessons. Or if nothing else, and just to say again, for anyone listening, if you're someone who like reads tarot and you're like, wait, I think something else when I pull the card in a reading, we have been talking about in a lot of ways how we can look at these cards to support our own self-healing and our, of course, in a reading, any card could have 5,000 different meanings depending on what other cards are drawn and the energy of the situation, blah. So if you do have some other ideas of what comes up for you in these cards, please feel free to share. We'd love to hear your point of view. I really like this message today.
I know, it's good.
So of these three cards, and just, I mean, either in together or separately, does this support you in your journey right now in any way?
Yeah, I want this. This is what I want.
The 10 of Cups?
Yeah.
Are you willing to do what it takes to get to the 10 of Cups?
I am trying.
Yeah.
I am trying. Yes. I mean, who wouldn't want this, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think
wanting this, these two are supportive of that because, you have to trust, step away, leave behind things that aren't fulfilling and reap the rewards, and then integrate that into the existence of knowing.
Another thing about the 8 of Cups that's interesting to me too, I guess just because of the number 8 only, is like 8 always makes me think of harmony or balance, or also it makes me think of as above, so below. So it's interesting that you saw that in the combination of 9 and 10. But, when you put it on its side, like the luminous gate, of course, it's infinite, but it reminds me of like the upper and the lower chakras, and that center point being like the heart, like where the upper and the lower meet. And so it seems like with the cups stacked too, this could also be looked at as, perhaps we spent some time with our emotion and really allowed ourselves to sit with that, but then also needing that balance of then getting back into action and dealing with the mind or things that are more, I don't want to say more practical, but more outside of ourselves. Like there's this balance of like the inner and the outer that we have to deal with. And we can't stay just in one aspect of the process, the journey, or whatever it is.
Ain't that the truth?
Honey, we really can't. But the 9 of Cups really is speaking to me, especially with the, for patrons, if you listen to the reading of this week, think of this card in connection with what I said. That is really standing out to me because of a meditation I had earlier this week. Yep. So how do you feel about it?
I feel great about it. I love it. I love it. Can we stop here?
10.
I don't even want to know about the other tarots. I'm just going to focus on these.
Just stop. We're not going to go through the other suit.
Yeah.
Well, next week we are going to journey into the
court cards.
Court cards, yes. Yeah. I couldn't think of what they were called. So we are done with the pip cards of the cups. We will go into the court cards, which should be a lot of fun because the court cards tend to be more challenging for people in terms of interpretation.
They're so challenging. Yeah. I'm looking forward to learning about them myself.
Well, that's why I think it's fun to do it this way, just to be very conversational about it and think about how it applies to our lives and not trying to be too rigid.
By the book.
Yeah. Because we can get really stuck in that. So hopefully you guys, these cards are opening up for you and you're starting to see your own messages, your own stories, being able to relate to these in some way.
Because I think eventually what we're all working towards and capable of is getting messages through our intuition about how to lead our life, because that message from the intuition is our own self telling us without the chatter of things that have been fed to us or narratives that we've created around experiences that may not have been best suited for us, whatever that may be. And these cards are a really good tool to help us focus onto how to listen to that intuition.
Yeah, they remind me of like study guides too. I mean, really, truly. I mean, again, I mean, not to harp on it, but just even from today's conversation, it's like these little nuggets of wisdom that make us go like, oh yeah, I didn't consider that. Or like, yeah, where are some circumstances where, you know, we just start to, yeah, I love them. They're like little mini teachers.
Yeah, it helps us unravel our experience a little bit more.
Come out of our head.
Yeah.
And our old stories, our own old patterns.
Right.
And sometimes, I mean, it reflects them back to us, but even still, it's doing it so that we can see how to navigate differently in support of ourselves.
And I think we're always trying to break the old habits and patterns, whether we're conscious of that or not. Because if you're meeting resistance or chaos in any areas of your life, that is an understanding that your old circumstances and behaviors aren't fitting into your new sought after experiences. So the cards help us kind of externalize those lessons and pay attention to how do we see that within ourselves in order to make the shift.
Yep. They are amazing for that. And, you know, here so many people think they're just for divination.
Yeah. That's Satan's work. Sorry, I'm just kidding. It's not.
She needs a nap today, guys. It's okay. We all have those days.
It's been a long day.
I needed one last time.
It's been very stressful.
No judgment, Tiffy. We love you in all phases of mood.
I will always show up as my true self for all of you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's why I love you.
You get 100% authenticity.
I can't wait to go into these court cards.
Ooh,
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you don't know already, you can learn more about us at MBE. That's Mind, Body, Energy Project.com. You can join us on Facebook at MBE Project. And there is a great place for you to leave us comments about what has come up for you about the cards. Because we both see that more than like Instagram. Honestly, we have an Instagram, but we aren't very active on it yet, but we're going to work on it.
We're going to get better at that.
We're going to. God help us. And then
help us. We do need his help on that.
Oh, and next week, we not only is it the last conversation about the cups, but we also have our live event for patrons. And we will be talking about the energy of fire signs, preparing us for the wands and looking at that, all of that fiery energy. So if you want to join us for that, go to patreon.com/MBE project. We would love to have you. And that's all we got for today.
That's it.
Is that it, Tiffy?
That's it. I feel very satisfied with this reading.
You're really loving that one, aren't you? No, this one was yours.
Yeah.
Oh, but just one last side note. Also, if you're new to the podcast, a lot of times you hear it, we can tell that we're looking at each other. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcast or Spotify, you should know that we're also now available on iHeartRadio, so you can subscribe to the show there as well. But you could also watch us on YouTube. So if you want to see our faces and our expressions and what is really going on here, you can watch these on YouTube.
Yep.
Mind, Body, Energy Project.
In our full authenticity, because sometimes we're just rolling out of God knows what, and we got to record and we do it, but we give you everything.
We give it all to you. And we thank you so much for being here and for putting up with us. Hi, it's been real.
Peace out.